said you would try to lie. This is set up by trying.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna be talking books. My favorite thing on this planet Earth, honestly. Getting a good book, you know, in your bed, you're just listening to music, it's the best thing in the world. We're gonna be taking a look at my 2024 book lineup. The books that I read in 2024, I'm not one of those girlies where my book goal is like 50 books a year because I ain't got that time. I kind of just read whenever I want to, and then whatever number that comes out to at the end of the year, that's what I have. Some of these books were mentioned back in my book recommendations video, so if you guys want to go check that out, you can definitely do so. I'm probably not going to go as in depth on those books as I did in that video, so if you want to know a little bit more about those books, then go check that video out. Anyways, without further ado, let's just get right into the video. I have some very exciting books to talk about, so let's get into it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our first book is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. Elsie Silver is that girl. Like, if you've never read any of her books, then I would definitely suggest reading the Chestnut Spring series first, because this one we got introduced to her writing through this series, and then we have this series, which is her, I think it's her most recent, do not quote me on that, I'm not 100% sure. This is a part of the Rose Hill series, so there's this book and there's also another book in the series that I did read this year, so we'll talk about it later. This book is fantastic, love the characters, love the plot. It is a workplace romance. I wouldn't say office romance because they're not really working in an office, but it is workplace, which I eat it up every time. I love a good workplace. So within this workplace, we have the female lead who is just looking for a job. It says on the back that he's the world's hottest billionaire. We'll see about that. He actually is though, I'm not gonna lie. Basically a small town recording studio. So that's where their journey begins. So if you want to pick this up, I definitely recommend this book. This next book is Getting His Game Back, and this is by, I really don't want to mispronounce her name, so I'm just gonna hold it up and y'all can pause and search up her name. I had never heard of her before reading this, so I was kind of curious about like her vibe and like what the book was about. This is one of the books in my recommendations video from earlier, so I'm not gonna go too in depth with this storyline, but I will tell you that it's kind of like a friends to lovers kind of timeline where they're kind of in denial about each other's feelings, and then they realize that, you know, they just need each other. If you're looking for like a really quick read that has a lot of fluff and like cute stuff in it, I would recommend this 100%. All right, guys, on to the next book. This book is Done and Dusted by Layla Sage. This is a brother's best friend romance, which I eat down every single time. This blew up on TikTok actually, and I can see why. It was very, very good. It's also kind of like a small town romance as well. The main character, she moves away from her small town to go, you know, conquer her dreams, and then something happens that makes her have to move back to the small town, and that's where she meets the male lead. Honestly, a really great story. Again, if you just want something short and sweet, I would pick this up. Next, we have From Lukov with Love. This is by Mariana Zapata. Y'all know I love me my MZ books, okay? MZ is that girl. This is a story about two ice skaters, so I would categorize it as a sports romance. If you guys have ever seen that one show, what's that one show called? Spinning Out. Spinning Out on Netflix, if you've ever seen it. This book kind of reminds me of it. It's not the exact same plot line, but it gives the same vibe. This is the perfect book if you're looking for something dramatic. There's a lot of backstory within these characters, and it's a really good read. Honestly, all of her books are kind of on the thicker side, but the thing is that her books are so good. Like, the writing is so good that you don't even realize that the book is that long. Like, you get through it and you're like, okay, where's the rest? I specifically remember ordering this on Amazon though, because I couldn't find it at my Barnes & Noble, but my Barnes & Noble is actually so bad. All right, guys, this is the next book. Now, I'm looking at my pile of books and I'm realizing that I didn't really read any dark romance this year, but this is the closest thing I got. Please ignore the cover, y'all. I had to go to school and read this. We have this main character who is kind of lost in her ways and she doesn't know what to do. She's like, what do I do to make my life better again, basically? So she goes in and she has a confession with this priest, and that's all I'm gonna give away. okay? You'll see. If you read this, it's really good. I think this was one of the first books I ever read this year. If you are a dark romance girly, then you're gonna like this 100%. We have gone full circle, guys. We're back to Elsie Silver, but this is Wild Eyes. This is the same series as Wild Love. This is kind of set in the same location as Wild Love is. We have two different characters this time, and one thing that my girl Elsie Silver knows how to do is write a single dad romance, okay? Down to the T. We have our main character who is kind of set in her ways. She's just coming to this place to find peace within her career because her career is a lot of publicity. It's very demanding on her. So she just comes here for a little escape, and then she finds these people who she never knew she needed. And that's all I'm gonna say. I definitely recommend this 100%. Guys, we listen and we don't judge, all right? Do not judge the state of this next book. She's been through the ringer, and I'll explain why. This is Dreamology by Lucy Keating. I think that's how you pronounce her name. This book was actually a thrift find from my best friend and I. We were thrifting like we usually do. We went to the book section. We were like, you know what? Maybe there's something here. We had low expectations, but we found this. It's actually so good. I was very shocked. Sad thing is I haven't been able to find anything since, so this is really a gem. So in this book, we follow two main characters. Our main character, she meets this guy in her dreams, which I'm sure we can all relate to, and then we wake up and he's gone. But anyway, she falls in love with this guy in her dreams, and when she wakes up, he's like nowhere to be found. And then she goes to school and he's there. She claims to know him and he's like, I literally don't know who you are. There's a big twist in the book, basically. It's hard to explain this book without spoiling it. If you can get your hands on this, maybe on Amazon, you type it in, I would definitely recommend this. Y'all, this book, I have no words. Okay, I really don't. I honestly don't. This is also in my book recommendations video, so if you want to go check that out to get a little bit more of a feel as to what this is about. If you have any friends who read and they've read this, just ask them. They'll know. Go grab this. I'm sure this is at your local Barnes & Noble because they always have her books in stock, so go pick this up. Okay guys, this is the next book we have on our list. This is The Right Sign by Nia Arthurs. I read this pretty recently. I think this was about a month ago, I want to say. What intrigued me was the fact that our main character in this book is deaf, so she uses sign to communicate. I took 3 years of sign language in high school, and the culture of the language and the community, I love it so much. So when I heard about this, I was like, I have to give this a read. I've also never heard of this author, so I was like, let's give her a shot, see if I'll buy any of her other books. Spoiler alert, I definitely will be, because this book was really good. Another thing that kind of drew me into this was female lead is deaf, but the male lead is hearing, so they have to kind of find ways to communicate and show their affection for each other, which I thought was really cool. One thing to know, if there's tabs in the book, that means it's good. I ordered this on Amazon, so I have no clue if this is at any Barnes & Noble, but I'm sure you could give it a shot and see if they have it. We should not be surprised that Elsie Silver is back. This is part of the Chestnut Spring series though. This is Reckless. This one at first was kind of shaky for me because it does have a pregnancy trope in it, and I'm just not for that most of the time. This was the exception. I'm telling you, like, at first I was like, okay, here we go again, like I'm not reading this. I read the whole thing, no shame. There was definitely a big twist slash misunderstanding in this book that you would think you would be frustrated about, but it just made you want to read the book more, to just like know like what happens. I wish I could read all of her books for the first time. Seriously, they're just so good. All right, the next book we have is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I read this book middle of the year-ish, I want to say. This book reminds me of Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. It's not the same, like the plot is nowhere near the same, but they give me the same like vibe. Like these kind of books with like these covers, they kind of have the same vibe to them, not in a bad way, they're just like similar. My best friend bought it, and if she bought the book, I have to read it then. Our relationship financially is not healthy for one another, but it is what it is. Our female lead, she's looking for her perfect match, right? She's trying to find someone that's perfect for her. She ends up running into this guy who everybody knows to be kind of this mysterious bachelor who's kind of always with some woman, but he's not really serious. He ends up basically teaching her the ways, you know, the ways in how to woo a man and, you know, get her somebody. And obviously, they end up falling for each other. I mean, I could have seen that coming, you know? I think this book would be really good for the summer. Next up, we have Loath to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. I think that's how you pronounce her name. This book is kind of different in the way that we're following 3 stories, not at once, but they're kind of up against each other, I guess you could say. I think this book was gifted to me as a Christmas present, actually. What I love about it too is that all of the 3 stories are very distinctively different, so you're not like sitting here bored because the story before is literally the exact same. I'm talking different setting, different jobs that they have, different situations, like it's very, very, very different. Another thing that I loved about this book is that all of the female leads are in the STEM industry, which women in STEM, okay? Women in STEM. If you are someone who needs change, you need just quick little cute little stories, this is for you. I would definitely recommend this. Okay, next we have The Proposal by Jasmine. Don't know how to pronounce her last name and I'm not gonna butcher it. This was actually a birthday gift, I believe, and I loved this book so much, you guys. I talked about this book in my book recommendation video. I would recommend this book a million times over if I could. If you need a good laugh, baby, I cannot tell you how many times I actually like laughed out loud reading this book. The actual plot itself is so hilarious and so out of this world insane. Again, not a super thick book, so you're not gonna feel like you're plowing through it. I read this during the summer and it was perfect, so I would recommend picking this up in the warmer months. Next we have Runaway Bride by Melanie Harlow. It was kind of an impulsive buy, which is most of the books that I buy at Barnes & Noble. I go in there thinking I'm not going to buy anything and then I walk out with 2 books and I've spent $100, so. What drew me in was the side of it. Look how pretty that is. I thought that was so stinking cute. I will say that the pacing was a little bit quick, but that's just my personal opinion. Other than that, really, really good book. It gives kind of like 2000s romance rom-com kind of vibe. If you're into those movies, I think you would be into this. Alrighty, the next book we have is The Brightest Light of Sunshine by Lysina Connie. My best friend and I, we kind of had that Barnes & Noble run where we were just looking for a book. We would just went in blind. We were like, we're not gonna look up anything. We're not gonna look at our TBRs. We're just gonna look for a book to read. We ended up picking up a book by the same author. She had a different book. If I could put a picture of the book that she got up, I will put it up right here. This is the book that I got. Such an amazing book. It's another brother's best friend and the main character is in college. She's kind of just trying to live life. She's had some things happen to her in her past that she's trying to move on from. This book is just really real. It really is. I think I talked about this in my recommendations video as well. I will say trigger warning for some very sensitive topics in this book. If you can read this, I would definitely recommend reading it. It's really good. We are almost done, I promise. This is Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine Cowles. I finished this book 2 days ago. It's very fresh in my mind, so if I kind of yap about this book, just don't mind it. I picked it up at Barnes & Noble. I was like, ooh, this is cute. The cover is really what drew me in. Like, it's gorgeous. I was like, okay, let's give her a read. Let's see what she's about. A lot deeper than what if you're thinking deep, think deeper, okay? Our main character has gone through, I mean, probably one of the worst things that someone could ever go through. She's, you know, trying to start her life over, build it back up, quite literally. That's where our male lead comes in. He's there to help with her renovations of her home. Slowly, we learn more about these characters. There's so much backstory with not just the 2 characters, like the main characters, but everybody. Honestly, chef's kiss. Like, so good. It has everything. It has close proximity. It has kind of like a murder mystery whodunit kind of feel to it. Just crazy, but in a good way. Good crazy. Last but not least, now this actually, I have not read this yet. I will confess, I have not read this yet, but this will be read before the new year, so I'm just gonna put it in this video anyway. This is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. We have a main character who's broken, you know, and then we have the other male lead who picks her back up. My best friend, again, common theme, she read this and she sent me like some snippets of some pages and I was like, I'm adding that to my cart. And so I did, and now it's here in my possession and I'm very excited to read it. I've never read anything by Chloe Walsh, but I've heard nothing but good things, so I'm very excited to get into this. I can't really like fangirl over it yet because I haven't read it, but I can tell you that my best friend loved it, so I'm gonna put it in this video as a recommendation. Okay guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I'll put the number of books that I read right here if you're curious. I really love filming these book videos. If you guys love it too, make sure to like so that I know. And I also really want to film some like book vlogs, because I have a lot of books on my TBR that I want to knock out in 2025, so let me know if you guys want to see those book vlogs. I like to think that I can keep like the mysterious poker face when I read, but I am quite literally, I'm kicking my feet, I'm giggling, I'm laughing, I'm crying, like so much happens. So if you guys want to see that, definitely let me know. But now I have the exciting task of reorganizing my bookshelf here. You can see it looks very empty. That's because I just packed up all of my books from college and brought them back home. I'm gonna reorganize my shelf and I'm very excited. Go ahead and like this video if you of course liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you guys in my next upload.